Melinda from Sacramento. Hi, Melinda. My daughter and I film ourselves when we do the podcast. And one of them, we film it on a couple of different platforms just to make sure we get it. One of them reverses our face. And it's funny, we can't stand the reverse angle, which is the one you look at. We just think we look like gargoyles. It's hilarious. So yeah, we can't stand our own reverse face. Isn't that weird? So hi from Rockwood, Carrie, and Rockwood, Michigan. U.S., Elizabeth. So it's Missouri. Okay, Missouri. Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Is Lauren. Okay, I'm going to get going. I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board. You can look into the courses, coaching. Sorry about the big wait list. I'll get to it eventually. What else? Oh, yeah, podcast. I always forget that. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we do 2 a week. We do one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, and they're all saved on YouTube. If you want to know the basics in parenting, we've actually done a 7 podcast series, which is saved on YouTube. If you go into playlists, it's saved on YouTube. So, and it's they're all grouped together, and it's 7 podcasts in 7 days, and they're all the basics of all this stuff. Amber from Massachusetts, welcome. Okay, so helpful, good, excellent, Chris. You know, it's easy for me to sit here and talk about what you need to do. It's hard for you to do it. It requires a lot of self-discipline and a lot of constraint or restraint to not get angry and to not yell. And I know it's difficult, but the more I talk, hopefully it'll make more sense and be easier to do. Okay, this is from Danny on YouTube. My kids are well behaved when I'm around, but when they go to Sunday school and I'm not the teacher, my 2.5-year-old doesn't listen, gets very hyper, screams, jumps around. Not much you can do. You can't do anything with a toddler from afar because everything has to happen right in the present moment. Yeah, they'll outgrow that. If you're a good leader, they'll outgrow that by the time they're about 3. Okay. Oh, so you're Vancouver too, Danny. Oh, okay, right. Okay. Whereabouts do you live in Vancouver? I'm near Science World, near Olympic Village. I went through, I live in an area where it's so self-contained and we're right on the ocean by the city and all. That's a beautiful area. But one year, a few years ago, I only went through 1 tank of gas in the whole, I just never drive. So now I do more because I have to go further out to see my granddaughter. I have her one day a week. But yeah, imagine just going through a whole year on 1 tank of gas. Yeah, I love living downtown. Utah. Hi, James. Nashville, Chris Fisher. And I've got someone from Fort Myers, Florida. Hi, Ann. Okay, so I'm just here. We're going to answer questions if you've got any questions. TTRRAC Tracy. That's not the way you spell your name, I'm sure. Kansas City, or maybe it is. That's a lot of letters in Tracy. And Renee from Kentucky. Alex Clark from New Zealand. We used to ski down in Queenstown because we lived in Australia. False Creek area is beautiful. Yeah, it is. Okay, this is from Kenzie. My son is 3. He had surgery last month and I let him sleep in my bed. Now he's waking up at the same time every night and asking to sleep in my bed. How do I get him to go back to bed? You just walk him back and you say, okay, you say bedtime, don't get out of bed again. Make sure that he's got galaxy lights. He's got like a teddy bear. Make his room a place he, is more likely to want to stay in. But yeah, you're just going to have to train him out of that. And yeah, if my kids had surgery, if they were sick or anything, yeah, I'd be sleeping with them too, pulling them into my bed too. So yeah, when they're sick, you do whatever they want. All the rules fly out the window when they're sick. They're going through something. Okay. This is Diane. What if a 4-year-old doesn't get out of bed but keeps asking for one thing after another? This can go on for an hour. Do you just keep saying nighttime? Oh, no, I ignore that. You want them to come out so you can walk them back to bed. That's the show, right? The walk back to bed, the silent walk back to bed. But yeah, just let them keep calling out. That's okay. I'm assuming they can get out of bed, right? My granddaughter, I have her 1 day a week. She's 2 years old. I fell for this. I felt like such an amateur. We were playing, and I guess her nose is running, right? She's got this cold, and so she doesn't like that. It bothers her. So I keep saying, I keep getting Kleenexes and that, but I guess I wasn't quick enough. And she goes, hug, and I went, oh, my precious little angel. She just wanted to hug me so she could wipe her nose all over me. She goes like this and instantly wiped her nose all over me. What an amateur. I fell for it. I couldn't believe that. I went, oh, you tricked Grandma. Snot all over me. Oh, they're so cute. Okay. Okay, I want to read this out because I don't have a great question. I like being challenged. I don't have a great answer. This is Lane Green. Best advice for trying to obtain a schedule and routine at home, but can't when the child is at their grandma's more during the week than with me. And also goes to her dad's, where the rules and boundaries are different at all places. They are so adaptable. They can adjust to one house. I know my granddaughter has, there's 3 of us caregivers, basically, 3 sets of caregivers. There's the other grandparents, there's me, and there's the parents. And she adapts like that to each different style. Okay, we're all very, kind of similar, I guess. But yeah, they do adapt very quickly. So yeah, just worry about yourself. It's all you can control anyway, is yourself and your leadership. So yeah, they are extremely adaptable. They can adapt to daycare. They can adapt to home. They can adapt to going to the gym daycare. When you go work out, they can adapt to going to grandma's house. They are very adaptable, and they fit into where they are. It's quite amazing. So I said I didn't have any ideas. I really don't have any ideas because you can't you can't change what's going on elsewhere is what I meant, but you can control what's going on at your home. They are very adaptable. By the way, children love instinctively, they love routines. So the more routines you have set, it could even be a routine. Now's our playtime. Now's when we brush our teeth. Now's when we eat. So yeah, they love schedules. They love routines. They like to know what's coming, in other words. It makes them feel more in control. Oh, I forgot to put my timer on. Whoops. We filmed a couple of podcasts today, and we kept them both. Sometimes we'll toss one. We just go, didn't like that one. We filmed a couple today. Okay. I'm going to read this one because I like to be challenged. I don't have a great answer for this one, but I'll think about it. 5, almost 6-year-old is not listening at home and starting to give teacher a hard time with listening as well. Yeah, you got to fix home. You fix the home base and they will follow your lead. Then when they go to school, they generally will respect other people. What I mean by that is once you're a leader and they carry that leadership umbrella everywhere they go, by the time they're about 3.5, they'll carry that everywhere they go. So if they respect you, they'll respect the teacher, they'll respect the checkout person at the grocery store, whatever. They tend to respect everybody once they respect their parents. So work on your parenting. Okay, now they're almost 6. And if they're giving the teacher a hard time at school because of their age, what I would say is, I'll tell you what, from now on, if you act out at school, when you come home, there'll be a consequence. And you see, that's how I talk. I never talk in a stern or angry way because it's weak. To do that is very weak. I just say, I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. When you act out at school, then you come home, there'll be a consequence. And then you say, do you understand? And then just follow through with that. So get the teacher to report to you if they have a bad day. Okay, when you do 24-hour media blackout, this is on YouTube, for sibling number 1, what do you do when sibling number 2 has the TV in the family remote and sibling? Okay, this is how you manage that because this happens all the time. So they're referring to media blackout. So there's 2 consequences for the kids on the behavior board, which starts at the age of 3. It's free on my website, BratBusters.com. So when you do the first consequence is always a positive action. Like if they break the rule, they have to do a chore or something. It's a positive action. So you do something negative, you replace it with a positive. A lot of kids won't do that. They'll say, no, I hate you. I'm not doing that. Say, okay, that's fine. So then you go to the next consequence. They always have 2. The second one is a negative deprivation. That's when you take something away. And it's usually something like media blackout. So no screens for 24 hours. But they chose that. Remember, they chose to break the rule in the first place. Then they chose not to do the first consequence, which is the easy one. And then they get 24-hour media blackout. So what they're asking, boy, that was a long intro. Anyway, what they're asking is, what do you do with the other kids when only one kid has media blackout? What you do is the kid who has media blackout has free run of the house except one room, which is usually the master bedroom. And you tell the other kids, you say, look, you can have a screen in the master bedroom and that's it. Sure, they're going to have a smaller screen because it's a family. The whole family is going to pay a little bit of a price for this, right? And they're usually quite happy even to have a smaller screen when their sibling gets none. So it's usually not an issue. It's rarely actually an issue, even though they don't get the big screen. No, their sibling doesn't either. So anyway, that's what you do. And then when you've got the one who has media blackout out with you in the main room, then you say to them, look, I'm going to do it with you. Do you want to play a game or something? You connect. They're not in the doghouse. They've already handed out the discipline. Now you're connecting. That's the pool story. If you want to know what the pool story is, I can't tell it again. I've told it thousands of times. I think I'd wet myself if I had to tell it again. Anyway, just Google BratBusters pool story. I never ignore bad behavior. I deal with it very quickly, but then I focus on the good kid. I focus on connecting because that's really what I'm teaching here. I'm not teaching discipline. I have to, but it's not what I'm all about at all. I'm into connecting with kids. And once you're really good at connecting and leadership, you don't have to discipline anyway. That's where you're headed. Like, I didn't really discipline my kids. Like, they were self-disciplined, right? So that's what leadership does. But I'm teaching you how to work to get there. Once getting respect is hard work. Maintaining it's a piece of cake. So you got to do the hard work to get there. I earned it. I've worked with hundreds of kids, teenagers, troubled teens. I earned it. I worked for it. I didn't expect any kid to just respect me. I wouldn't expect that. That's ridiculous. They can pretend to, but they don't even know you when they first meet you. I go in ready to earn respect, right? You got to work for it. Okay. Oh, good consequence. Good consequence. Good question. I love this one. This comes up. It doesn't come up often enough, but it's one I should bring up more often. Say a child, 3 years old. This is Tyra on Facebook, YouTube. So the 3-year-old does something they shouldn't, but a parent yells. Do they have to play hide and seek and the kid also has to do a consequence? Nope. Or does the parent just do the consequence? Yeah, the parent just does the consequence. Let's say, so your kid does something naughty and they get a consequence, and then you yell because you're mad at them for doing that naughty thing. All of a sudden, they get no consequence and only you do. You're on that behavior board too. If you yell, you're erasing their consequence. Good one. Good. Okay. You got that one right. Are your methods successful with only neurotypical child or also neurodivergent children? I don't know. I mean, I guess they're all the same. I don't treat them any different, okay? Those are all the kids I worked with. I didn't treat them any different. They're just connecting and they're human beings and they want to feel good. And that's always my job. My job is always to make kids feel good about themselves because when they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. If you discuss bad behavior, they're feeling bad. I don't discuss it. I just deal with it. I get it over with. And then I focus on connecting with that good kid, right? I'm really good at bringing out the best in kids. That's your job. I don't care if they got ADHD, neurodivergent, autism and special needs. It's a little bit different. Yeah, that's more coaching. If there's something really, really sort of more challenging, but generally, no, those are all the kids I worked with was ADHD. I don't quite understand this question. Carol Ann, how to stop an almost 3-year-olds from touching literally everything all the time? Well, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. There's still a toddler. A toddler to me is 20 up to 35 months. So there's still a toddler. But I'm going to read my top 5 tips. And the first one is the answer. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, connect with toddlers in their world. Like you don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. They look at you differently when you connect in their world. Number 4 is similar. You discipline them in their world. You don't do all these big discussions about their big feelings and big emotions. That is absolute crap. It's ridiculous. They're all about actions, okay? You use consistent corrective actions. It's all mentioned in my free behavior board. I've got a toddler section in there. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed upstairs. They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're cute as a button, but they're nuts, right? So yeah, imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Actually, my daughter made me listen to a podcast because she said she wasn't sure about it. And in one of them, she said that she commented, because that potato laying on a mattress, she goes, some people are offended by that. And I said, they're watching BratBusters parenting, because I have a sense of humor, right? They're watching BratBusters parenting and they're offended by a potato on a mattress. Like, they got to know I'm not politically correct, right? I'm not woke. I thought that just struck me as so funny. And why did I name my company that? I used to work with troubled teens, and they said, you're always busting brats. And they're also the ones who said, you got to start teaching this stuff, Lisa. So they kind of named it. I thought it was funny. Thanks for that, Denya. It's just someone who said something nice about my method. So good for you. I always say, I'm just telling you what to do or what I think you could be doing. You're the ones who do all the work. So pat yourself on the back. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Hi, and this is from Maria. My girl is 26 months. So let me think, just over 2. She hits and thinks it's funny. Also, when she's upset, she'll hit. She doesn't think it's funny, by the way. It's more of a test. It's not real laughter. I tell her no hitting, but if her dad's there, sometimes he jokingly swats her back. Yeah, you don't do that. It's not an eye for an eye, that sort of stuff. So yeah, if she hits, you just say no and you do the consistent corrective actions. There's a whole tutorial on that for free on my website. If you want to look into the Toddler Bootcamp course, it goes into more detail. But on the website, the behavior board has a toddler section in it. So yeah, you just say no and remove her from the fun or fun from her. Okay, just for a short period of time. She'll eventually clue in. And straight face. You don't look angry. You don't laugh with her. Yeah, it's just straight face. Calm as anything. Discipline is supposed to be like a business transaction. There's no emotions at all. Save all your emotions for the fun, for the play. Their love language is fun and play. So save all your big emotions for that, the positive stuff. You never want to show big negative emotions to kids, especially frustration, anger, and disappointment. It does nothing but make them feel bad about themselves. My goal is always to make them feel good. But I address bad behavior. I just don't discuss it. From Winnipeg, Quinn, that's where my mother was from. She hated it. Do you know why? Because she grew up during the Depression. She was born in 1922. They had no heat, barely any food, and they lived in Winnipeg with no heat. 3 girls, and they all had to sleep in a single bed trying to stay warm. I'd hate Winnipeg too if I had no heat. It gets cold there, but very friendly. We used to visit there a lot because we had family there, super friendly. Okay, how do you stop an almost 5-year-old from saying "wah" in this whiny voice when he doesn't like an answer? Just ignore it. Doesn't like an answer? What? Just what? Just ignore it. Yeah, you're giving it power. That's why he does it. They only do what works. And if he's getting attention for something annoying like that, he's going to keep doing it. So yeah, just go, okay. I might even acknowledge it and go, okay. Yeah. And then just change the subject. You control the narrative. You control the energy. He's in charge right now, and he does that because it bugs you. Yeah, okay, this is from Ooh Negative on YouTube. What I'm struggling with is the transition from 2 to 3. Daughter is almost 2.5, and I feel like she can understand consequences. Do I have to wait till 3 until the behavior board? Yeah, you do. It's 3 for a reason. They can all start to learn. They won't really get it right away at 3, but 3, it could be maybe a month before, but it's amazing how that 3 is a big difference. 3 is the fork in the road. 3 is when they start to develop that. Well, this is all of just my experience based, right? So 3 is, I see a huge change. 3 is when they stop and think. They'll blow out their candles on their 3rd birthday and they'll think, do my parents know what they're doing or not? So they'll get easier or more difficult. It's a fork in the road, and it happens at 3. That's when they have the ability to stop and think before they act, not much before then. Yeah, I'd wait till she's 3. So I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. And I don't get to all the questions. What age do you recommend potty training? 2.5. is a good age. You can do it before. They're more likely to regress if they're under 2, especially. But yeah, I waited till my kids were 2.5 because I knew I wanted to do it over a weekend. I trained my son in 1 day and my daughter in 2 days. I didn't want to have to deal with accidents or night diapers or anything. So when I did it, there was no pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. And they were trained in 1 day and my daughter was trained in 2 days. So that's why I just wanted to do it fast and get it over and done with. I didn't want to drag it out. And some kids are really easy to train. Mine were pretty easy, but also the reason why, and I do have a whole system on how you do it. You have to buy the course to get it. I've included that potty training mini course in both of my boot camp courses. It's a whole system and it's based on incentive. It's all positivity, right? But there's always exceptions. Some kids are trained at 18 months, but they are more likely to have accidents and to regress later on. Quite often, quite a bit later on too. Like they might regress when they're 2, 2.5, even if they've been trained. But then some of them are trained at 18 months and never regress. And some of them aren't trained till they're 4 and 5 completely. So yeah, they're all different. That's too big of a question. My answer would take too long. That's from Farhad 6793. That's a big question. You're asking a big thing. Check out my free behavior board. That's where you want to get started with all this. Also, if you want to know all the basics with what I teach, check out my 7 podcast series. It's on YouTube and it's in the playlists. And it's all about calm leadership parenting. It's all the basics and everything I teach. We did that series so we could group it together because we don't have a book or anything yet. So if you want to know the basics, and that's all free, the podcast, so you can check that out. Anyway, I got to get going. I'm going to move over to Instagram now if you want to join me over there. If not, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can check into my free behavior board, my courses, coaching, and the podcast, which is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm staying on YouTube the whole time. That's where all my lives are saved. And I'm hopping over to Instagram now if you want to join me over there. I don't know why, but I find these dings when I'm changing over. I find them really annoying. Okay, so I'm just waiting for, as soon as everyone turns up on Instagram, I'll get going again. And they turn up like all in one clump for some reason. It's the only place that happens. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Okay. I always wait till I get about 100 people. It's funny with lives, people come and go a lot. So it may only look like I might have 100 people in a live, but then when I'm finished, there might have been thousands of people because people come in and out constantly, right? I guess they're driving or whatever too. Okay, I'm going to get going now. Thanks for joining me on Instagram, and I'm also on YouTube if you want to look at me over there, whatever. Well, you don't want to look at me if you want to listen to me over there. Anyway, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching, and you can look into the podcast, BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. So I'm just here answering questions. I'll do the best I can, and I tend to scroll through, so I make sure that you're still here when I answer your question. I just paused your podcast to watch this. Oh, you're very welcome, Paige. Us Aussies love you. Hey, from down under. I still get homesick for it sometimes because my kids are born and raised there. I was there for about 20 years. And I only came back to Canada because my mom got ill. And yeah, so I came back here and she ended up dying in my arms. You know, that was 10 years ago. And but that's the only reason I left Australia. I would never have left Australia if my mom hadn't been ill. So because I loved it. I love Canada too, but I wouldn't have left a country I love, you know. Okay. And the only reason I left Canada was I married an Australian in the first place. That's why I ended up down there. Okay. Okay. Oh, a teenage question. Thank you. I never get those on these lives, and teenagers are my favorite age. Okay, my 15-year-old has hidden her phone and won't give it up. I have canceled her phone. How do I give her consequence? Isn't canceling her phone a consequence enough? Yeah, for now, that's all I'd say. I'd just say, okay, well, I canceled your phone, so it's going to be useless for you anyway. So yeah, isn't that kind of enough? And you got more fish to fry than the phone. You got to work on your connection with her, okay? So whenever I get clients with teenagers, they kind of get frustrated with me because they want to do all this disciplining, and I say, no, we got to connect first with teenagers. You connect with them first as a leader, and then we can work on the other stuff. It gets easier. You can't come in with the discipline first. So anyway, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible with teenagers. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Or you could say, hey, I want your phone back. What do you want from me? See what she says. Just throw that out there. I'd be curious to see what she says. Number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. They're allowed to make mistakes just like you do. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? And laugh it off. In other words, there's no shame in making mistakes. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. A lot of parents want to do this, and then I say, you don't do that. And they say, well, when do we discuss the bad times? And I say, never. What's the point? What's the point in discussing bad times, what they've put you through? The payback, you can get the payback for you, the revenge, is when it's a very slow burn. When they're older and they've got their own teenagers and they complain to you, you go like this. That's a shame. That's your revenge. It's a very slow burn, but if your teenagers are putting you through hell, the only revenge is when they have their own teenagers. Good luck with that. Okay. And number 5, with teenagers, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Can't be both. They'll die on any hill. If they're arguing, even if they know they're wrong, they're going to die on that hill. They're going to argue and argue and argue. There's no point. Just say, I'll tell you what, let's just forget it. Or let's just talk about it later. Do not say, we'll talk about it when you've calmed down. That's an accelerator. It's passive aggressive. Just say, let's just talk about it later, and walk away. Calmly, no anger. Okay, so good luck with that. But I'd ask her, look, I want your phone back. What do you want from me? Let's start the negotiations. See what she says. What to do when a toddler 3-year-old says to shut up or not talk to him? I would just shut up and not talk to him. I'd say, okay. Unless something has to be done, then you make it happen. So if you say, okay, we got to go to school now, he says, shut up. You got to get him dressed and get him off to school. But don't argue with him. Just follow it up with actions. Yeah, if he's 3 and he's saying that, it must work. It must get under your skin. It must make you mad. Okay, Lives Claire. Love your tips. How to deal with a 1-year-old temper tantrums. My son just started having. I got hundreds of videos, probably thousands, on tantrums. If you Google BratBusters tantrums, hundreds of videos will come up. I just don't want to go into it again here because I've talked about it so many times. You do ignore a tantrum, but there's a very specific way of doing it, and you want to connect right after it. If you're not going to connect with the kid right after a tantrum, don't even ignore it. I think that's mean. So you do ignore the tantrum. You're filing your nails. As soon as it's done, oh, you all done? You want to go read a book or something? See, you never discuss the tantrum. There's no point. But anyway, I have more information on that if you want to look up the other videos. Oh, okay. This is from Ed. We have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. Do you have any advice for raising calm kids? Our kids are all over the place and are highly excited all the time, getting into all sorts of mischief. Are they just really physically active? Like maybe they have hyperactivity issues like ADHD or something? I don't know. Are they just super hyperactive? If so, you can never wear them out, by the way, kids who are hyperactive. But yeah, have purpose in their life. Like what have they got to do? And you pull out, I got a lot of different ideas here. I always get stumped when I got a lot of different ideas. One, you know how classrooms are run, that they always pull out an activity, but they put the old one away first. They don't have everything out in the middle of the classroom. They go from activity to activity. Kids love that. They love activities. I did a toy rotation system with my kids So everything was basically put away with just a few toys out at any given time. And then I'd say, okay, now let's pull out the Lego. Let's work on that for a while. Now, also, if you have kids who are really super hyper and just getting into stuff and mischief and all that, they like different stuff. They don't want to look at the same stuff all the time. By the way, if you do have everything out like in a playroom, I'm not big on playrooms, I'll be honest. If they do have everything out like in a playroom or something, they can't focus. There's too much stuff around. That's why you want to get rid of a lot of stuff. Just keep it up for rotation, right? So anyway, they like different stuff. Some things that I did with my kids that were really popular. I just remembered another thing I did. I just remembered that. Anyway, one thing I did was I saved all the recycling stuff like toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls, and then I'd tape them all together and shoot down cars through that. But then we'd readjust where it was ending up or where it was starting. I'd tape it to the dining room table so the top would be up there and the cars would race down. Or as they got older, marbles would go down there and then see where you could shoot them off in different directions. It was like a big hose, right? I was always doing weird stuff with kids. They don't care that it's toilet rolls taped together. They care that it's something different. It's creative. They like new stuff. Now, even I used to just put stuff in different places. So let's say they had like their books in one spot. I might move them all and just sort of change them around, maybe have them all out in the family room one day. Or, I was always mixing stuff up. So even though sometimes it was the same stuff, I might mix it up and put it somewhere different. So you want to you're trying to stimulate their creativity, basically. Stimulate their play senses where they actually want to play and they'll get focused and they won't need to get into trouble. Yeah, I've got a million different ideas. I got to stop talking about it now. But what I would recommend is look up fun things to do at home with kids and just look it up on YouTube and put the ages down. You'll find all sorts of creative stuff that a lot of moms out there are way more creative than I ever was. So I think because they're sharing ideas online now, we didn't have the internet back then. So yeah, there's so many different ways of sharing ideas. But yeah, TikTok's really good for that. Activities with kids at home. They don't care that things are expensive. They just care that they're new and different, right? You're from Canada. Good. Me too. I'm sorry for your loss. My mom died 10 years ago. She died in my arms and she was my best friend. And when she was dying, I won't go into it, but the doctor called and said she's going. So anyway, she was still sort of, the doctor said she can't feel you or see you anymore, but she can hear you, right? So, and my mom and I used to always laugh. She had a great sense of humor. We used to laugh that on her deathbed, we won't have anything left to say because we said, I love you every day, how important we were to each other. Like there was nothing left unsaid. So anyway, she's in my arms and she's dying. And I said, I was kind of crying, but I was trying to, savor this moment. And I said, you're right, Mom, I've got nothing left to say. And she did this laugh, this gaspy laugh. It was like her last breath. And then she died. I thought, what a way to go in your daughter's arms laughing. That was her very last breath, was a laugh. Isn't that beautiful? It was a wonderful goodbye. I mean, she was 93, so it wasn't like it was tragic. You know what I mean? But anyway, another Aussie. Hi, Ross. My mother, something that she always said to me, and I used a lot of her wisdom with my kids too. My mom always said, sweet, when things were tough, and my dad died when I was young. It was horrible, cancer and everything. And she said, sweetie, she goes, life's full of ups and downs. She goes, but you can't enjoy the ups without the downs. And she says, it's just part of life. Like she always had a positive spin on things. And she said, life's full of like ups and downs. And she just sort of always had a way of calming me down. She never tried to make everything sound great. She just said, life's just, it's not the cards you're dealt, it's how you deal with them. So she always had a positive attitude. She just was a really wise person. And I just adored my mom. Very positive, funny, and very positive. Oh, she still uses Wi-Fi. This is a 15-year-old. Yeah, I'd still shut that down when I could, if possible. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd be negotiating though. I'd tell her, I'd say, look, you won't give me your phone. You're using Wi-Fi. That's not good. I got to turn it down now. See how I'm talking? No anger. Yeah, I got to shut that down now. Look, I got to do something here. I'm still the parent, right? And say, well, what do you think's fair? I want your phone. What do you think's fair? I'm assuming that's the 15-year-old. Same. But you see how I'm talking? Actually, I started my business specializing in troubled teens. They're my favorite age by far. because they're the most complex and also the most interesting because they're so developed, right? If she has the phone and Wi-Fi, it's never canceled. You can never shut down your Wi-Fi, but she has the Wi-Fi when she's out, but not when she's home. You can shut it down at home. You can't get her phone, eh? You see now, the phone isn't the issue. It's your relationship is the problem. You're narrowing it down to the phone, but that's not the problem here. The problem is your relationship, her lack of respect for you. So that's what we work on first, right? So yeah, the phone isn't your problem. It's just a symptom of the problem. It's a symptom of her lack of respect for you. So you got to earn that. And that's all I teach here. So just keep listening. Might get change the password to Wi-Fi. Yeah, but if she's got it when she's out, she's got her phone when she's out still. But at home, yeah, you can change the password. That's right. So but watch your tone. You got to watch it and never look like you're getting the better of them. Like never go, well, I'm just going to have to shut down the Wi-Fi now. You see that attitude? It brings out the worst in them. They will rebel against that. So the way I talk is it's exactly like this. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do then. I don't really have another choice. I want to get your phone. And so I'm just going to have to change the password or shut down whatever and say, have you got any other ideas? I negotiate. Say, have you got any other ideas? I hate you. Say, well, that is an idea, but nothing's going to faze me. I've never yelled. Nothing's going to faze me. And that's what teenagers are after, right? Oh, potty training. He'll go pee, but won't poop. It's usually boys. Very common. Okay, so there's 3 reasons why kids won't poop on the toilet, but they'll pee in the toilet. One is splashback. Maybe they were splashed, right? They didn't like it. The other one is cold bum. So they don't like, because you have to sit there for a long time. They don't like the feeling of cold. And the other one is hanging phobia. They don't like the feeling of the, hanging there and tugging on them. So here's how you fix that. So you get that little porta potty with no water in it, obviously. Put some toilet paper in the bottom of it so they can feel it on their bum. And you can actually turn up the heat in the bathroom or wrap a throw around them or something to keep them warm. But be careful. Hold your breath when you open up that throw afterwards. Enough said. Anyway, it might work. But yeah, it's usually boys. And the reason why I think it's boys, I think this is funny. No one ever laughs at this, but I think this is funny. I think the reason it's more often boys that won't poop, but they'll pee, is they got more hanging out down there. So that's why it's, splashback, cold. Yeah, they got more equipment hanging down there. I like your style, but I worry that the knot. Don't know what that means. Oh, this was really funny. My daughter and I laugh at like a lot of people out there hate me. And, I love this stuff. Someone said, I love your advice, but does someone else teach it that I can stand? Like they hate me. They like my advice. Well, I invented all this. So there are people teaching it, but it's all they're teaching my stuff. But we did shut down, what was his name? Joel Mayo. He ended up getting about 50,000 or 80,000 followers using my videos, pretending to be me. Fine. Lots of people are doing that, right? They're pretending to be me, but because we've got a big following now. So anyway, the funny part was, well, it's not funny, but he was selling stuff and not delivering. And then people were doing research online, trying to get their money back, coming to me, asking for their money back. It wasn't me. It was Joel Mayo. It took a whole year to get him shut down. Because I guess on Facebook, they get so many requests to shut down people. It took a whole year to get him shut down. I'm sure he's doing it with lots of other people too, but lots of other people are out there using my videos to sell their stuff. It's just BratBusters.com. I'm the only one. I invented all this stuff, but I thought that was funny. They liked my advice, but they couldn't stand me. So I'm very polarizing. I'm okay with that. That was a compliment, though. They like my stuff, so. And it's not for everybody. You got to find what suits you. If what I'm saying if my message or my style isn't resonating with you, then you're not going to do it anyway. So just move on, find someone else. Because you gotta follow someone that you are in line with, right? This is Jessica. You're asking about homeschooling. I would just have too many questions to ask first. Does he maybe have eyesight problems? I would maybe have his eyes checked, and then I would make sure that was cleared up. Maybe make reading more fun, find books he likes more, and have a lure too. I don't mind using incentive for learning and for certain things. Yeah. So I don't know, but I'd have a few questions first. How do you address whinging? You must be Australian or English, because in North America we call it whining. But my kids are raised in Australia. How do you address whinging in the middle of the night when the 2.5-year-old is half asleep? I just ignore it. So we'll just ignore it. If they're half asleep, they'll fall back asleep if they're ignored. Okay, you're not going to like my answer, Danielle. What's the best reaction to have when my 2.5-year-old hits his 4-month-old brother and then laughs after? You just say no and take a toy away, and then you console the baby, so you fuss over his victim, but you take a toy away. There has to be a direct action. The reason why you're not going to like it is I would never allow a 2.5-year-old who's aggressive to get near a 4-month-old. I would just keep that baby strapped to me or whatever. I'd be very guarded with that. So yeah, he should grow out of that, but the thing is, it almost becomes muscle memory. If they get a few hits in, they get used to doing it. So yeah, I would just watch them like a hawk around that baby. He'll grow out of it. What's too big of a question? How can I manage the don't touch in like a 15-month-old? Check out my free behavior board. It has a toddler section and how you do it. But your child's 15 months old. It's still a baby, so I use diversion. At 16 months, I start to use the toddler stuff, consistent corrective actions. But with a baby, I just use redirection. So if they go to touch something, I say, oh, what's over here? And I move them and I redirect them, because they're still a baby at that age, to me, the way I do it. I find you so charming. Can't imagine anyone. Oh, lots of people hate me. I love all that stuff. I think it's funny. And what I don't understand about that is, why would I care that everyone likes me? What I mean by that is you should never care about everyone liking you, because think about all the people in this world that you like and all the people you don't like. Chances are it's going to be directed to you too. You're going to connect with people or you're not. And I've never, ever cared about the people who don't like me, because I figure it's probably mutual, right? So yeah, that's just it's not a negative. It's just you connect with some people, you have chemistry with some people, or you don't, right? So there's lots of people that I can't stand and I can't follow. One is very popular. I would never say the name, so she's so huge. I can't stand her. Nails on a chalkboard to me. But I'm sure she's very good at what she does. She's hugely popular, but but she'd probably hate me too. It's just that chemistry. So I find it funny that people feel the need to voice it, though. That's what strikes me as so funny. If you don't like me, why do you feel the need to voice it? Like I care? Like, you're a stranger to me. Why would I care? That's what always strikes me as funny. Because lots of people that I don't like online, but I wouldn't tell them, like, why bother? Plus, I'm 65. Everything, water up a duck's back at this age, right? It's called wisdom or dementia. I'm not sure which. But I told my kids this too when they were growing up, and it's a good life lesson. From the time I was young, a lot of people used to comment on this trait that I have. They'd say, you walk into any room full of strangers like you own the place. And yeah, I admit I do that. It's not, what is it? I always told my kids this, whenever I walk into a room full of strangers, all I'm thinking is, I hope I meet someone I like. It would never dawn on me to think, I hope they like me. The reason is, they're either going to like me or they're not. I don't worry. I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. So I'm not going to change myself anyway. So you're either going to like, this is who I am. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. I've always been the same. What you see is what you get. So why would I worry if someone doesn't like who I am? Like, I don't think anyone should do that. You value yourself as you are, and you put yourself out in the world, be a nice person, right? Put yourself out in the world, but don't worry about what people think about you. Don't waste time worrying about that. I told my kids that too. It's hard to do. I was born like that. So, but yeah, I always think, I hope I like someone. But then if someone doesn't like me, it's very rare that it's not mutual, that you just meet someone, you go, oh, it's just no connection there. So it's usually mutual, both ways, right? But if not, then I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not going to change myself anyway. So I told my kids that. I said, just go out there, be a good person, and you're either going to connect with people or you're not. Don't change who you are, though, to fit in to someone else's value system or anything. So it's just advice. I always told my kids that it's okay if people don't like you because you probably wouldn't like them either. Like, big deal. Do you like everybody? No. So why would you expect everyone to like you? Why would you worry about that? That's that pleaser when people try and please. I never had that in me. I think I'm just who I am. So if you're trying to please other people, you're never going to be happy if you're trying to please other people and try and change who you are. So it's a good lesson for kids too. It's confidence, yeah, but there's confidence and there's self-esteem. Okay. Confidence is you can walk into a room like that, right? Any room, talk to anyone. That's confidence. A lot of people with confidence have very low self-esteem. I think mine's pretty good too, but it's self-esteem is how you view yourself. Confidence is how you can throw yourself out there in the world. So a lot of people with really high self-esteem could never do public speaking or walk into a room full of strangers either. They're quite different. What confidence is okay, but it's the self-esteem that you want. It's how you value yourself, right? So that's what you want for your kids is high self-esteem. And confidence, it comes in handy, put it that way. I remember when I was a kid, this is really weird. I remember I was about grade 2 or something, and I said to my mom, I said, so-and-so, and I was confused by this. And I said, I don't like them because they're not friendly. And Mom said, well, blah, blah, blah. She asked me a few questions. She goes, oh, they're just shy. And I said, what's shy? And she goes, well, it's hard to talk to people that you don't know. And I said, what do you mean? Never understood that. And she was trying to explain what shy meant. And I couldn't grasp it. I've never had that. So I found that really weird. Like, why would you care what people think? Why would you be shy? I never understood that. I don't know if that's confidence or just I'm nuts. I don't know what that is. But I didn't understand shyness as a kid. I'm not a confident person. I wish I was. Yeah, like I said, they're different. You can think really highly of yourself and still not have enough confidence to throw yourself out there. I think that's fine. I've known some of the most confident people or highest self-esteem people were not extroverts at all. They were very introverted, but they knew who they were. So I'd rather that. I'd rather be a complete introvert and shy and have high self-esteem. How did you earn respect with youth? Oh, good question. Okay. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers, and it's similar. But because I was working with them, it was different. But this is my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. And then you negotiate as much as possible. You always give them a say, right? And then don't sweat the small stuff. If they make a mistake, just say, well, that was stupid. You want to hear what I did yesterday and laugh it off. Like it's okay to make mistakes. Number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. So you never discuss their bad behavior. You just deal with it and move on. And number 5, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Okay. So I think the number 1 thing there is listen to understand and show empathy. Now I don't talk a lot about what I did when I was working with kids because it is different from parenting, but I never let anything go. But let's say I was working with a troubled teen, and it's the only ones I would work with, obviously, and as a teen mentor, a behavioral mentor. So let's say they called the teacher a disgusting word, right? So I would say something like this. Now, this is just how I worked with them. It's not how I would raise my own kids. But I would say, whoo, that was a whopper. And they would look at me when they were getting to know me, and they'd look at me all weird. And then they'd say something else foul to someone. They were pretty careful with me because they knew I was volunteer. I could get up and walk away, right? So anyway, then they'd say something else vulgar or do something else vulgar. And I go, ooh, I didn't see that one coming. They were thrown off by that. I was still letting them know I didn't like it, but I'm not getting mad at all. I'm completely calm. My calmness is what got respect. Also, I'm really good at connecting with kids, and I'm kind of funny, so I used a lot of humor with teenagers. So I wanted them to feel good about themselves when they were with me. But if they did do something vulgar, I would say, "Oh boy, boy, that one curled my hair." So I'd let them know, and I didn't like it. And then when they start to respect you, they would not act like that anymore. They'd be embarrassed, right? Because my job is always that I want to be like a coach or a mentor, right? Someone that makes them feel good. Like a really good coach makes kids feel good, right? You don't ignore bad behavior, but you kind of say, yeah, you messed that up, go run around the track or whatever. And then, okay, now you can do better now. You're always trying to bring out the best in them, right? Have you ever had someone that you look up to, like a grandparent, a teacher, a coach that makes you feel good? How do you treat that person, right? Pretty darn good, right? Because they make you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. When you feel bad, you do bad. Think about it. I'm good at making kids feel good about themselves. So how are they going to treat me? One of the teens I worked with said, I didn't like myself until I met you. Now, how do you think that teenager treated me? Right? It's not about pointing out the bad behavior. Believe me, they did a lot of it when I first met them. It's about making them feel good. And that's how I worked with them. It's similar, but it's still different, right? The goal is always making them feel good. And I know a big mistake that parents make, and that they all do it, is they want to discuss the bad behavior. Think about it. What's that going to do? You think it's a lack of understanding? They know right from wrong past the age of 2.5 to 3. They know right from wrong, okay? What do you think discussing the bad behavior is going to do? It might make you feel better, you get it off your chest, but what do you think it's going to do to them? Is it going to make them feel better or worse? You hand out discipline, but it's the discussions around the bad behavior is what I'm talking about. You say, oh, that was bad. Here's your consequence. It's over. Okay. What's your point in discussing that bad behavior? It's never going to get you anything good. It makes them feel worse. It's shaming and blaming and bullying is what it is. That's why I don't do it. It's negative. It's nasty. I don't like it. I don't do it. I never discuss bad behavior. Okay. You are so calm and your nervous system seems so strong. What have you done? Okay, well, I'll just read. I'm a nutcase, by the way. I'm a very goofy person and I giggle a lot. I'm very goofy. So I think I'm just good at, just a sec. Okay. What have you done as a mom to help? Okay. When it comes to maternal stuff, like I feel like I'm mothering all the kids I worked with, all that maternal stuff, I'm extremely maternal. I go into a whole other zone when I'm working with kids. But in my personal life, I'm a crazy follower. I'm nuts. I'm goofy. My nervous system, I'm highly emotional. People in my inner circle, I'm very sensitive to them. But yeah, so it's just with kids, it's my mothering instinct is very calm. So, but the rest of my life, I'm kind of nuts. So I'm a very solid person, very reliable, but I'm very, very, very goofy. And so, yeah, you wouldn't say my nervous system is very calm if you saw me in my personal life. But yeah, that's my mothering stuff. Because, kids, they need that. I know how to lead kids and they need that. They need, crave, and want leadership. Do you know every single teenager I've worked with has said, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up. Not now, but they identify that discipline is love. So they don't want the yelling. Yelling isn't discipline. Yelling is you're losing control. It's not discipline. Okay. Have you written a book? No, I haven't. But the closest that we have to that is we did a 7 podcast series, and it's Calm Leadership Series. It's on YouTube, and it's 7 podcasts bundled into a playlist. And it's all the basic information on what I teach. So that's the closest that I have to that. We were going to write a book this past year, but my daughter didn't let me because we didn't have time. She does all the marketing and all the planning. So, and she was right. She's always right. She does, believe me, she does not work for me. It's a partnership. Yeah, it's more the other way around. She does all the planning. Plus, once you do a book, it's out there, and you can't take it back. So we've got to make sure we've got a lot of time and to do it. And most of my days are spent coaching, which we don't need to do that, but I love coaching. It's my favorite thing in the business is coaching. So I'd kind of have to pull back on that if we wrote a book. Okay, so I'm going to hop over to TikTok now because I go from my smallest platform up to my biggest. So Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then I'm on YouTube the whole time. And that's where I save all these lives. Anyway, if you want to join me on TikTok, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. You can get on the wait list for coaching if you're interested in that. Or you can look into our podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can see it on YouTube. And that's where we save them all. Anyway, thanks so much. And my daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok now. Bye now.
Ta-da! No. What? No.
TikTok starts right away now. Didn't used to. Okay. So I just got to save my voice a little bit here. So I'll wait till people turn up and I'll get going on TikTok. I don't know. At TikTok has so many different things in here that they talk about. I can't read all the, I don't know, forget it. I can't figure it all out. It's very confusing. Someone asked me a while ago why I don't post on the other channel. I have like a fitness sort of channel. That's not true. I talk about all sorts of weird old lady stuff. But yeah, I just don't have time anymore. But I used to really enjoy doing that, actually. I talk a lot about my cleaning. I love cleaning. It's not very exciting. Okay, you have to put down the ages if you're asking questions. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses. You can get on the wait list for coaching if you want. I know it's a big wait list, but I'll get to you eventually. And then the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can see it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it, because my daughter and I do it together. She does all the planning. I never know what we're going to be talking about. I don't like to plan anything. I don't think that way. I need to just be sort of right in the moment. So she does all the planning for all that. It's always a surprise to me. And my daughter and I are very different personalities. She's the sane one. I'm the goofy one. And but yeah, she's the calm one. She keeps me in line because I'm always going off on tangents. I'm not OCD or ADHD or anything, but I think I'm close to all that. I always get excited over it. I'm like a 65-year-old toddler. She's very sound, very calm. So she keeps me regulated. Like I always want to do different projects and that. And she goes, Mom, we're not doing that right now. Okay. Okay, I don't discuss nannying. I only teach parenting, so I don't comment on that. Okay, good question, Maddie. Tips on 20-month-old on an airplane. I'm going for a long flight and my son will be in my lap. Yep, I've done that. We used to live in Australia and travel to Canada. It's like 24-hour travel. Oh, it was awful. Anyway, you give them whatever they want. I had a bag of tricks with me. Whatever they want, you give it to them. All rules go out the window, forget it, and there's no way I would put a plane through a tantrum, okay? My son, the first time we did that trip from Australia to Canada and back again, because we lived in Australia, and he was 18 months old, and we did it. We had no extra seat for him, and yeah, he didn't sleep for 24 hours. So it was brutal. He didn't have a tantrum because he was being spoiled rotten, but his eyes were really big. By the time we got to my mom's house, they were like this. He was wide awake, but not really. But yeah, so I've done it. Just spoil them rotten, whatever they want. Oh, how sweet. Thanks for that. I won't read that out. It's kind of embarrassing. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. That's so skeptical, Fox, on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to read this out. 58008-A on YouTube. Hi, Lisa. I'm in a tough spot. I'm trying the methods you teach and not seeing progress. My 2-year-old daughter is still as bossy and tantruming as ever. I wait on the bus and she tantrums hard. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're just not doing it long enough. It takes a long time with toddlers. They learn because you need to be consistent, and it's repetition, repetition, repetition. They're not going to learn the first 20 times. It might take 50 to 100 times, usually 3 to 6 weeks before you see results. Okay. And then you got to but you got to be consistent all the time. So that could be it. Or you're maybe looking angry and mad. You might have a stern face or something. They feed off that negative energy. You don't do that. Treat all discipline like a business transaction. No emotions whatsoever. And play hard with them. Their love language is fun. You play in their world. Okay. Not in your world. You play in their world. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. I used to come back from the park with grass all over me. So yeah. So maybe it just hasn't been long enough, or you're looking too stern and angry, or you're not playing enough. Those are my 3 guesses. How do you tell the difference between tantrum and whining? Well, whining is just, but tantrum is crying, kicking, screaming. So yeah, that's. And I don't treat either one like bad behavior. Whining is an affectation, like, well, I don't want it. That's an affectation, like vocal fry. That vocal fry. A lot of teenagers do that. I think someone told me the Kardashians do that. I've never really seen them, but that vocal fry, like, I don't care about anything. I'm too cool. It's a vocal affectation. So is whining. So I don't treat it like bad behavior. And tantrums is just a loss of emotional control, not getting their own way. It's based on anger. It's also not bad behavior. So they're treated quite differently though. Awareness to stop mini therapy session have helped so much. Perfect. What they're referring to is when you want to discuss all the big feelings and big emotions around anger and tantrums and bad behavior. Total waste of time. No point whatsoever. And people say, but you want to deal with their feelings. When you're a calm leader, they self-regulate themselves. And you can always talk about feelings, but not in the moment, not when they're heated, not around bad behavior. Nope. I just don't. The only thing I remember saying to my son once, he was growing out of tantrums, and he was maybe 3 or something. And I said, look, if you're mad, nothing wrong with that. I said, you can just go into your room and scream into a pillow. He did it once, and then he never did it again. He stopped having tantrums. But yeah, it's not the anger. That's okay if they're angry, but it's how they deal with it. They'll learn. But if their tantrums never work or never get attention, they'll stop doing them. By the time they're 3, usually they stop. Yeah, just keep going. Yeah. I miss doing these lives. I just haven't had time. I used to do them every single day for a couple of years there. And I keep saying I'm going to get back into it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do them every single day, but I really miss doing them. But I don't feel as connected, with the audience. With you guys. You always have the cutest hairstyles. I do not at all. This takes 3 seconds to do. I've got really wiry, curly hair. My daughter's got straight blonde hair. It's just natural. And it's funny because when you got curly hair, it's always a mystery. You never know what it's going to look like when you get out of bed. But when you got straight hair, it's predictable. Okay, I don't like to answer this question because there is no answer, but I'm going to read it out and I'll tell you why. What do you consider enough playing time with a 3-year-old with mom? There is no set time, right? But what's interesting is I was always kind of connecting with my kids. Like I chatted with them a lot, and I never ignored them when they were independent play. Well, I would for a while, obviously, but then I'd often go over and say, oh, well done over there. So a lot of parents, when their kids are doing independent play, they ignore them. They go, oh God, I'm just going to tiptoe around them. They're doing independent play. I didn't. I would say, oh, well, good job over there. And then I'd go off and do something. And they liked that. Then they'd play longer on their own, actually, but I was always kind of connecting. When we were in the car, we played I Spy. When I was making dinner, they'd come in and chat with me. We were always kind of chatting, and also I don't like playrooms where they go off somewhere. I like my kids around me. So we were always chatting. And plus, if I wanted some time without my kids, I'd say, look, I need some kid free time. Just scram. And they'd happily skip away. because I was, usually chatting with them all the time. So don't try and have this prepared quality time. It's just sort of chatting with them throughout the day, make them feel valued throughout the day. What was I something that came up with my granddaughter, and then I realized I don't really want to mention that. It's kind of more personal. I kind of keep her out of this stuff, but yeah, she's just 2, but boy, they sure know they really know when you're in their world, like when you're playing in their world. So a lot of parents will take kids somewhere. I know how I want to mention this. A lot of parents will take their kids somewhere to connect with them, but then they'll take them like to the park and watch them play. It's okay. You want to do that too, but it's better if you go and play with them. It's a whole different level of connection. The more you enter their world, the better when you play. So don't just take them somewhere and watch them play. Get out there, get the trampoline park to the play center. They usually let adults in there too, especially with little kids. Do it with them. Not the whole time, but they just look at you differently when you enter their world. They just do. They feel more valued or something. I don't know how to explain that, but they feel more, they know that you're doing it for them or because you want to connect with them. They just start to sense that by about 2. They start to pick up on that. Okay. Oh, if you do have any questions, there was just too many questions there from one person. If you do have questions on specific things, you can Google it. Just Google BratBusters tantrums, BratBusters, whatever it is. I got thousands of videos out there. Or you can go to my YouTube channel and watch my 7 podcast series. It's on YouTube. It's a playlist. It's on calm leadership. It's a whole series. It's all the basic information on parenting, which I think is really good to watch all of those, because it sort of gets you in that headspace of leadership parenting. I teach leadership. It's not authority. It's not pleaser. It's more like a mentor. You want to be like a mentor for your kids. You want to be a safe place to land. You also want to be a friend, but you're still the parent, right? You want to be the leader for them. When they're teenagers, you're passing the torch over to them more. A lot of parents struggle with the teen years, not because their teens get difficult, but because you don't understand the difference between raising a child and raising a teenager. Teenagers are morphing into adults. They don't want you to be their leader all the time. They want to get their own leadership going too. So you've got to balance that out, right? So you got to manage that. I would never take parenting advice from someone who hasn't finished the job. If they haven't lived with teenagers, how can they teach parenting? Because I'm setting you up for those teen years. It's a whole different thing. If you can be a teacher, even a lot of my clients are teachers. Teaching is different. It's not parenting. It's very different. But yeah, I wouldn't take advice from someone who hasn't finished the job. And I also wouldn't take parenting advice from someone who hasn't found parenting easy and wallowed in it. Because if they struggled with parenting, they can't be teaching it, or they shouldn't be. Because if you're struggling with something, how can you teach it, right? Oh, someone said you and your daughter are funny. The stuff that we cut out, we get the giggles a lot. Yeah, we're a mother-daughter team in this business. It's family business. And yeah, we're keeping it that way. We're very protective of the message. But we have a lot of fun. We're best friends too. We're very lucky. She only came on board about 1.5 years ago. And she was helping me part-time on the side. And then she realized, she had a corporate job and she said, what am I doing? Yeah. So we love working together. We don't work together. She works on her own. She does all the marketing and planning. The only thing we do together is the podcast. Oh, this is great. Jacob, your teachings have helped me so many ways beyond parenting. I'm so happy to have found this channel. You are for sure making the world a better place. There's nothing like helping people. And I'm just so grateful that I have a larger audience now to help people. Most people are never going to give me any money or buy my courses or anything. It's great if you do. But the reason I'm here really, especially with the lives, is because I feel like I'm helping people. And what a Like, it's just so lucky. I feel so lucky that I'm able to do that. I've been doing this for 20 years now. Yeah, it was more of a business because I didn't have a huge following. So it was more just sort of a business. Whereas now that I've got a bigger following, I feel like I'm helping way more people. And, but before it was more just, social media. I wasn't big on social media before. So now I feel like it's a wider audience and it's just a great sense of purpose. It's fantastic. And my daughter said, how wonderful to be in a business where you really feel like you're doing something, right? Like we just feel so strongly in this message. Has your program teachings ever not worked for a child? Well, I don't teach kids, I teach parents. And I'm sure there's lots of cases where it doesn't work. There must be. And a lot of my clients rehire me over and over and over again. And that's why the coaching is such a big wait list for it, because they want that support. But it's hard changing yourself. And let's say you were the authority or the pleaser, or you just were lost as a parent. And then it's very hard. You have to change yourself to become a leader. Anytime you learn something new, there's an aspect of change. You're transitioning into a leader. It is hard work. So kids, I've never met a kid that it didn't work with, that I've worked. As a leader, I've never met a kid this doesn't work with, okay? Because my goal is always to bring out the best and then make them feel good. So I've never met a kid that I've worked with that I couldn't get respect ever. So it's the parents. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding, I teach parenting. So I believe this could work with everybody and that your connection should be able to improve. Is it going to be perfect? No, nothing is. Life's messy. People are messy, right? So, but yeah, it's not that. It's just if you can stop yelling and calm down and discipline very quickly and very businesslike, no anger, no frustration, no disappointment, and then connect with your kid. How can that not work? I don't even know how that couldn't work. I can't imagine. When you get good at this, right, and you're calm when you're handing out consequences, and then you connect with them, make them feel good about themselves, how can that not work? I don't know. Okay. I haven't heard you talk about the other parent and how you navigated difference in parent personalities. Okay. That can be challenging at times. Parents have different ideas of what to do. So what I say is if you're not on the same page and you're arguing over it, what you do is you flip a coin and you pick a method. Say, I want to do method A and I want to do method B. They flip a coin, and then whoever wins, you give it a go for 3 weeks. If you don't see any improvement, then the other person takes over and you defer to them. So, and with a leader, there usually is a stronger leader. The leader is the prized role, really. The leader is the one that kids tell everything to. You're the safe place to land. You're calm. You know how to take care of things. You're also fun. You're goofy, right? Or you don't have to be goofy. I was. You don't have to be goofy, but you're fun, right? Fun is their love language. So, in a leader, you want to be fun. Anyway, so the other parent defers to you if they're struggling. You only need one leader in a family. You can have two, but there's usually one more dominant leader. But the one who is struggling with this leadership defers to the other one, okay? You just say, well, let's talk to your mom, or you all discuss it with your mom. You want to be on the same page. You don't want to be doing different things with the kids. But it's okay to defer if the kids see you on the same page. I'll give you a good example of this. My mom was more of a leader. My dad was a pleaser. My dad spoiled me rotten just a little bit when I was younger. And because they adopted me later in life, my mom had already had a son. So I was my dad's only, a child from birth. And so they adopted. So he spoiled me for sure. And you shouldn't do that. But anyway, he did. So I remember this really well. I was probably about 3 or 4. And I used to say to my dad, Daddy, can I have that? And my dad would say, sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. One day, my dad said, sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. And then he said, oh, let's go check with mom first. And I said, oh, never mind. So she would have said to him, don't give her everything she asked for, Phil, you're spoiling her. So then he learned to say, let's check with mom first. And that solved it. So it's not that he was dealing with it. It was that he was deferring to mom. And I knew what was happening. Kids aren't stupid. I knew she was in charge, but all of a sudden they were on the same page. So yeah, but I remember that. I remember once, I won't go into it, but I remember once hearing my mom say, Phil, if I hear you say yes to that demand she just made, we're going to discuss that later. So I remember that. My mom was really funny too. She was hilarious. Did that make you feel resentful though towards your mom? God, no. I idolized my mom. She was the leader. They don't resent a leader. They just don't. Oh God, no. I remember thinking I liked myself more when I was with my mom. I didn't like that spoiled side of me. I didn't like myself as much when I was with my dad, right? I knew I wasn't as good a person when I was with my dad. I was more after that. But yeah, no, my mom was my leader. I idolized my mom. Yep. She was the leader. You don't resent a leader. You just don't, because they bring out the best in you. But my mom didn't take any crap. She was great. Okay, did your siblings turn out to be loving, calm parents too? Well, my brother, I just have a brother, and they did a very good job. A different style from me. I would say they were more the authority, but there's a huge age gap between my brother and I. Okay, so 16 years between us. But yeah, no, they did a good. They're 3 really lovely boys, and they've all got grown kids now too. So yeah. You know, one thing that my mother gave both of us, we can both walk into any room with a lot of confidence and talk to anyone. My mom was a real social butterfly, a real extrovert, and she gave us both that. I'd say we don't have a lot in common, but that I think we both got from my mom. A lot of confidence. And my dad was more shy. My mom was not shy at all. Oh, you're asking me I'm just going to comment on this. What could it mean if a child naturally self-regulator, showing self-regulatory tendencies? My daughter had that in spades. She was really good at that. It doesn't really mean anything. It just means that they are more likely to stop and think before they act, right? Yeah, my daughter tends to stop and think, whereas I don't have that. I just, but I've never had a tantrum either. So I don't tend to be angry. I tend to be a more cheery, positive person. But yeah, she's very good at self-regulating, but just she's more controlled. That's all. I'm not. I'm more emotional. But yeah, more controlled. I don't know if it means anything though. You know, I would say my granddaughter's like that too. Very controlled. She's just turned 2. She's more controlled. Yeah. My son is more like me. I would say we're more, run by emotions more than just stopping and thinking. Oh, is there any benefits to a 1-year-old playing with kids around their age, or is it necessary? Oh, it's not necessary. They don't really play with other kids till they're about 3. They play side by side, but they don't tend to interact a lot. Sometimes twins will more. Yeah, they don't tend to play together so much until they're about 3. And 3 years and 9 months is a huge turning point. That's when they develop empathy, or they have the ability to develop empathy. They understand that there's other people in the world that might sort of have the same feelings they do. They don't really get that until they're 3 years and 9 months old. I've been saying that for 50 years, 3 years and 9 months. They just did a 50-year study a few years ago. They finished it. And they discovered that kids can develop empathy at 3 years and 9 months. I've been saying that for 50 years. I'm sure a whole bunch of other people have too, but they've proved it. 3 years and 9 months. I just see it. They start to look around. They think, oh, other people feel the way I do too. Like they just are getting more self-aware and more aware of other people, right? And their place in the world. So quite fascinating. But at 1, they're not really interacting, and they don't play with other kids really. I know I did all that with my son, especially because, he was my first and I had a lot of time with him. So I took him to play groups all the time, and they just all play next to each other, but they weren't interacting. I get this question, not so much people who already know me wouldn't ask this. So you might be new here. How to teach emotional regulation to a school age. Okay, emotional regulation. They learn that when they have a leader. They learn it through osmosis by having a parent who's a leader. It calms them down. You're a safe place to land. They can tell you everything. And your leadership is what enables them to self-regulate better. You're not teaching them how to do it. You're setting an example, right? If you're a yeller, they're not going to be able to self-regulate as well. You don't yell, like leaders don't yell. You don't get angry or anything. You're very calm. Okay, so your leadership is what helps them self-regulate. Wow, I'm noticing a huge shift in my son. He's 3 years and 8 months. It's been incredible. Yeah. Well, you already answered your question here. My 16-year-old acts like she doesn't like me, and I constantly do everything for her. I spoil her. Well, that's why. Yeah. She doesn't have any gratitude. That's why. And when you spoil them, they have no gratitude. So stop spoiling her. How do you stay calm? I'm not a calm person by nature. I don't have a temper really, but I'm not a calm person by nature. I'm quite the opposite. I'm very extroverted and loud. But when I'm disciplining, I'm like that. Calm as a cucumber. Very boring. I whisper when I discipline. Oh, geez. Yeah, that was an interesting choice. Here's what we're going to do. That's how I talk when I'm disciplined, because it works. That's why it's so easy for me, because I've been doing it for 50 plus years with kids. It works. So it's easy to do what you've had tons and decades of practice with, and you just know how well it works. Actually, I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. What a weird kid, eh? I was always mothering. And I was doing it back then. I was a leader when I was 11. The daycare ladies used to say, how do you do that? They want to play with you because you're fun, but they respect you. I was a leader, right? So calmness is just to get me what I want with kids, which is the good behavior and the fun. Because I don't want to raise nice kids. That's just a byproduct. I want to have fun with kids. I want to enjoy them. I want to laugh with them. I want to be a friend with my kids, which I was. I want to enjoy them. I just got to discipline and get that out of the way so I can enjoy them. Right? But I know staying calm is the way to get. I know what to do to get where I want to go, and it's staying calm. So. Can you use calmness with the teenagers? Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. But a lot of negotiating. Oh, someone here said gentle parenting. I don't teach that at all. No, not me at all. I teach leadership. So I'm just scrolling through here. I don't want to comment on that method. I've never looked, I'll be honest, I've never looked at it. I never look online what anyone else is doing. I'm very careful about that. But it's just not something I teach. It's not my style at all. It's not, I teach calm leadership parenting. Okay, what is your training? What was your career before this? I was in office admin work, and I used to teach fitness too, but I have no formal training, thank God, because I'm not under anyone's umbrella. I thought I was going to be a child psychologist. And after a week, this prerequisite course, they kicked me out because I asked too many questions. This is 50 years ago, literally, what was it? Well, it was 1980. So not quite 50 years ago. But anyway, yeah, I asked too many questions because back then, what they were teaching was ridiculous. It was so patronizing towards kids. And it was so disrespectful towards kids. I knew I would never fall in line with that. Then I realized it's not for me. You know what I should, and plus the other students started asking me questions about kids. And because I just always found kids easy to understand. So anyway, I should have held out because I just gave, as soon as they said, we're going to give you your money back, you don't fit in here. So they said I asked too many questions, and because they were good questions, right? But anyway, I'm sure that they've improved what they teach now, but thank God I never did that. I would have been horrible under that umbrella. And a lot of my clients are child psychologists. I couldn't do their work. Okay. They're under that umbrella. I couldn't fit into that norm at all. Everything I've learned, kids taught me. That's it. Kids taught me all this stuff, and teenagers, mostly the troubled teenagers. They taught me more about this than anyone else ever has. So yeah, no formal training at all. So I can say whatever I want. I'm just a parenting coach. I'm under no umbrella. Yeah, I forgot about that for a long time, and then it came out a few years ago. I was doing a live, and I'd forgotten about that course that I was kicked out of. How'd you get involved with troubled teens? My son was 12 years old, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to be a teenager soon. I've never worked with teenagers before. So there was a mentorship program that was for volunteers at a high school. So that's what I did. And they gave me some training, but I never used it. I have my own style. I figured it out. I have a story that I tell. I only tell it in coaching. And it's the pool story on steroids with a troubled teen. And it's a good story, but I only tell it in coaching. But anyway, yeah, I loved it. They taught me more about patience, and yeah, it was fascinating. They also told me, they're the ones who said, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa. And then years and years later, I did. But yeah, I thought, well, if I'm going to have teenagers of my own, I better learn a thing or two about teenagers. So I went right to the most challenging teens you could work with, right? And some of them I've worked with teens in detention centers and psych wards and throughout the years, right? When I started my business, and I learned a lot. But they taught me all this. Okay, I'd love to hear your thoughts on calm leadership parenting style versus authoritative. Okay, a calm leader is accountable. I'm on that, you got to be on that behavior board too. The kids have to be able to discipline you also, because a leader leads by example. If you want them to be accountable, you have to be accountable. An authority would never do that. It's my way or the highway. I'm your parent. You respect me. It's a one-way street, more so. I'm generalizing. But the problem with that style, it's not bad. It's better than the pleaser parent style, which is so popular now. Total disaster. But the old-fashioned authority, the problem with that one is they will rebel in the teen years because they want to exercise their own independence. Leaders give them more independence. You give them a say. They can say anything to you, right? So that's the difference. But if you're going to err on the side of authority or the pleaser, go authority, right? You're going to raise still strong individuals that may rebel, but they're still strong individuals. The authority raises self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I know I'm generalizing. I'm kind of using humor there, but they're going to be really weak. Okay. And they won't respect you ever. Blah, 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 blah. Super random question, but what are your thoughts on Super Nanny? I don't know anything about her. I've heard of her. The only time I was asked to do a show, they said it's going to be like, it was a huge network too. Years ago, they wanted me to star on the show. And they said it's like the Super Nanny, but with teenagers, because I specialize in troubled teens. And I couldn't do it because, well, for one thing, I couldn't embarrass parents on TV or kids. I couldn't do it. I don't know what she does, but I couldn't do that. And I said I would need total creative control. They kicked me to the curb so fast. I said, there's no way I could I don't want to embarrass a family on TV. That's why I couldn't do it. So that's the only time I ever kind of had to look into that. Okay, how long would it take to see changes after calm leadership? So once you're starting, it's 3 to 6 weeks before you start seeing a difference, and before it's really cemented, 3 to 6 months. And their attitude towards you is the very last thing to go away. If they have a bad attitude towards you, it's the very last thing to go away. It happens organically once you're a leader, 3 to 6 months, because you can never address their attitude. You've earned that bad attitude, right? You got to earn the good one. So you got to prove yourself. How do you recommend handling children who are unfazed at correction? You're just not doing it right. Yeah. You're missing it. There's something wrong there, because they will all, they're all, sometimes we have to invent leverage. I won't go into that too much because I got to get going now anyway. But yeah, there's always something. You can always come up with something. Sometimes I have to get really creative trying to figure something out. But do you use calm leadership for children with autism? That's a specialty. I only discuss that in coaching. Any special needs, I only discuss in coaching, because I need to know what's worked in the past. What are you doing? I also recommend that you have other people because I just teach parent-child relationships, right? So, I also recommend that you have other specialists that, I can maybe find out what they're doing, what's working and what isn't. And then we go from there. How to talk with my sister about her parents. She doesn't just, oh boy, you never tell anyone else how to parent. Nope. I've never done it. In my personal life, I've never given parenting advice. If someone asks for it, still very careful about it too. Like I'm a grandmother now. I would never tell my son and his wife how to parent. They're doing a great job. I mean, they don't need my help anyway, but I would never tell them how. It's none of my business. Any unsolicited advice is nothing but criticism. Let's say you have an overweight friend. Would you give her a dieting book? Right? How would that be? Was that criticism? How would she react to that? Or how would he react to that? As soon as you try and give unsolicited advice, you're insulting that person. It's passive aggressive insult. That's all it is. So yeah, I would never give advice. It's not my kid, that's my grandchild. And it's not my kid, it's my friend's kid or whatever. It's none of your business how someone else parents. That's the bottom line. Yeah, someone said to me, oh, you must have tons of advice for your son and his wife. No, why would I do that? How bossy am I? No, I don't do that. No, it's none of my business. And they're doing a great job. They're fantastic parents. But even if they weren't, none of my business. Not my kid. I'm not there. I'm not the leader. They are. Do I say something to my teen every time she has an attitude or ignore it? Ignore it. Why on earth would you say anything? Oh, no. Gosh, no. No. Ignore it. How to deal with grandma trying to parent my children. Okay. This is always what I recommend. If it doesn't work, it's hopeless. You say to that grandparent, when you undermine my parenting, it hurts my feelings. They will say, I'm just trying to help. You say, it still hurts my feelings. Now it's on the table. If they don't respect it, good luck. Give up. If they're that they're that insensitive towards your feelings, I can't help you. Okay. Oops. My timer's going to go. Okay. I got to get going. Someone said, how'd you potty train in one day? I was already a leader. I had it all planned out. I did a potty party. It's in my courses. If you want to check out my bootcamp courses on BratBusters.com. Anyway, also I was just going to say, check out BratBusters.com. You can get my bootcamp courses. Look into my free behavior board. It's completely free. It's on my website, BratBusters.com. You can, if you want to work with me one-on-one, that's private coaching. There's a huge wait list for it, but I will get to eventually. What else? The podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. We do 2 a week, and it's my daughter and I. We work together. And it's also on YouTube. It's on all the platforms, but it's also on YouTube. And I just want to thank you for your support with that podcast. Our goal in the first year with the podcast, which is a really big goal, evidently, is 10,000 downloads in the first year. And that was our goal. We hit 1 million downloads in the first year. That's why we're doing 2 a week now. And it's just taken off like stink. So we're just stunned, to be honest. Podcasts are hard. There's millions of them out there. But yeah, we're just absolutely so grateful that you're listening to the podcast and hopefully finding value in it. We put a lot of work into it. My daughter puts a lot of work into it. But yeah, we love doing it. It's the only time we ever work together. We work in the same company, BratBusters, but it's the only time we're ever together because she has her job and I have mine. We're separate. But anyway, thanks so much for your support with that podcast. We love doing it and we hope it gives you value. Most people are never going to hire me or never going to buy a course. So that podcast is our way of putting out the information and helping, that way. So it's a feel-good thing. We just love doing it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again when I can to do another live. Happy parenting.